Hi, I'm Tom Scarpello of Revology Cars, and this is car number 367, a 1970 Boss 429 in Calypso Coral with Arctic White Napa leather interior. Today I'm going to take you on a walk around of this car, and we're going to go for a drive. Let's get started. All right, 1970 Boss 429 Calypso Coral. This was one of the original colors. Many consider it to be one of the more desirable colors. In fact, Calypso Coral with the white interior may be the most collectible of the 1970 Boss 429 colors. There were only 499 Boss 429s built in 1970. So as far as Mustangs go, very, very rare. This is our first 1970 Boss 429. When we put together the program for the Boss, we knew that we were going to do a 69 and a 70, both in the Boss 429 and the Boss 302. When we started the program, we gathered some of our existing customers who were interested in a Boss, and we asked them what they wanted. Somebody wanted at least one of every model. The 69 Boss 429 was the most popular, the 70 Boss 429 and the 70 Boss 302 would be second and third, and then there was one taker for the 69 Boss 302. Regardless, the plan was to do both model years and both variants. This is our first 70 Boss 429. So for 1970, Ford changed the design of the Mustang slightly. The front end is different. It's distinctive from the 1969. That had a 4 headlamp configuration. For 1970, it's 2 headlamps with these faux grills out to the side of the headlamps. It's a unique grille. The turn signals are in the front valance, and the spoiler is carryover from 69. So similar but different. Everything in the front of the Revology 1970 Boss is as it was in 1970, with the exception of, we've made these little inserts here, and they have our logo, if you look closely, as in the grille for the hood scoop. Now in 1970, the Boss 429 hood scoops were all painted matte black. That was different. The 69s were body colored, but really other than that, aesthetically, aside from the model year differences, the cars are pretty much the same between 69 and 70 Boss 429. You've got the decal on the fender as it was in 69. This car is equipped with the Magnum 500 wheels, which is the standard wheel for our Boss 429. At the rear, also some differences in the model year 1970 versus 1969. The tail lamp panel is different. The tail lamps themselves are different. The rear valance is the same with the exhaust tips that are visible underneath the rear valance. On the interior of the 70 Boss 429, on the original cars, there were some differences between the 69 and the 70 model years. However, for the Revology 69 and 70 Boss models, it's basically the same interior. We decided to focus on delivering one very excellent execution rather than doing any kind of model year differentiation. So it's the same basic interior that you would get if you were getting a 69 Revology with our unique steering wheel, all the interior pieces designed by us, the dash, the genuine walnut veneers, which we source out of the UK, our console. This car is a manual transmission, so it has our shift knob that has the gear indicator. It's kind of a riff on the original style that had the 2 blue stripes. We've got 3 blue stripes because we have a 6-speed gearbox. Now, this client went for the Arctic White interior, which is a really nice premium kind of reimagining of that original vinyl white interior, which was a popular interior color back in 1969 and 1970. This is a Rolls-Royce leather, so it is a extremely high quality automotive grade leather. Also durable and able to withstand abrasion and sun loading and the typical things that automotive leather is subject to. This car is equipped with the molded nylon loop carpet that looks very original. Of course, the black dash is finished in a Porsche Napa leather, as is the Revology design steering wheel. This car has the optional woven leather inserts in the seats, which is kind of a riff on the old Comfort Weave vinyl Of course, it's a significantly higher grade version. This is leather. It's actually leather hides are cut into strips and woven together. It's an extremely labor-intensive process, but the result is a very, very high level of craftsmanship and luxury. So befitting a car at this price point. Really nice execution on the interior. So let's go for a ride. Okay, we're off in car 367, our first 1970 Boss 429. If you've seen any of our other videos on the Boss program, I've shared that I'm really proud of the way this program was executed. There's a very noticeable improvement in interior craftsmanship, and we've also added some nice features like the Harman-Kardon premium audio system and the electrically powered outside mirrors. The things that you don't see just by looking at the car, though, are just as, if not more important, and those are the improved ergonomics. That's the whole driver-machine interface, right? The seat comfort, you know, where the controls are, where the steering wheel is, where the gear shift is, where the pedals are, you know, how far do you have to reach? Is everything where you expect it to be, where it's comfortable? The ergonomics of this car are really exceptionally good. And the other area that we really made huge improvements in is in the category of noise, vibration, and harshness, known in the industry as NVH. And NVH is such an overlooked area in the resto mod segment. It's like no one even really thinks about it. But you know, you've got different kinds of noise. There's good noises like a good exhaust sound, and then there's bad noises like squeak and rattle and wind noise and things like that. So the trick is to get rid of all the bad noises and keep the good noises. You know, a lot of the NVH, the good NVH, is what gives a car its character. You could engineer all the character out of a car in a lot of modern cars. Frankly, they've done that. And I think it's so important to keep the character of the car. You got to keep the good NVH and engineer out the bad NVH. And I think the team did an exceptional job on the Boss program to do that. So you drive it, you feel like you're driving a muscle car. It does feel, you know, feels 60s, but then it doesn't. You know, the way it performs is not like a 60s car, but it does have that character. It's got just enough of a good kind of NVH, the right vibrations and noise to really feel like a authentic muscle car. So that's a balance. It's a tricky balance to get. You know, it's a combination of art and science, combination of objective and subjective, and difficult to get right. But I think the team did a great job on this program. You know, there's people who, you know, they think, well, you know, these cars aren't driven that much, so those things aren't really that important, right? It's more important how it looks. That's what attracts people. That's what gets them to buy. It's how it looks. And I think that is just wrong. It kind of overlooks the key aspect of what an automobile is all about. And that's the dynamic aspect of it, how it drives, how it functions, even how the door opens. You know, all of these elements of the functionality are part of the art. And if you don't get these things right, you know, you really haven't delivered a complete automobile. So it's one thing to build a car that looks great at a car show. It's a totally different thing to build a car that not only looks great at a car show, but you can also get in and drive and enjoy the drive and get where you're going reliably. So there you have it. That's the Revology philosophy. It's what makes us different. And it's what makes this Boss 429 different.